a bit of a shocking revelation or announcement over the past couple of days as ThorSport has announced that it is departing its current manufacturer in Ford, and it's believed that they are going to be switching over to Toyota. A massive shift over there. Probably the biggest premier Ford manufacturer team in the truck series currently is going to be leaving, and Toyota is going to have a stranglehold on that series apart from GMS, it seems, right now, when you got the likes of ThorSport and KBM moving over to most likely Toyota. I mean, they've got a lot of business down there, and it leads some to believe that they're going to be changing up their driver lineup as well, because that is to be announced. They have not finalized their 2021 driver lineup over there at ThorSport. So a bit of a massive revelation, I'd say. There's the likes of Christian Eckes out there as well, Kyle, that could be maybe pushing a move like this over to the Toyota side and maybe joining Ben Rhodes potentially as a partnership over there. We'll see about that, but it would be an interesting storyline to keep track of in 2021 if that does happen. But what are your thoughts on the newly announced Ford departure with ThorSport?
It was surprising. I don't think anyone was anticipating something like this. And it's funny because we were just talking about Ryan Sieg making the switch to Ford over there in the Xfinity series. And now we've got another team leaving Ford in the truck series. So it's kind of funny how that goes. But yeah, it's definitely a surprising one because ThorSport not too long ago just made the switch to Ford, and they were Toyota back in as recently as 2017. And when the way that the announcement went, given the fact that they said that driver lineup and sponsors and all that will be announced at a later date, kind of makes you think that there might be a change there. Because if there was no change coming in the driver lineup, why wouldn't you announce it when you're announcing
a month to the season?
Exactly, right? So I think everyone assumed before this announcement that they were going to keep the same driver lineup. It was all going to be fine and dandy, nothing really to expect over there. But with this massive shakeup in terms of the manufacturer, leaves a lot of open doors. And so I look back to the last time that they were a Toyota team back in 2017, and 3 of the 4 drivers are still with them, actually. Ben Rhodes, Matt Crafton, Grant Enfinger, and then Cody Coughlin was in the 13. So when you look at the construction of the team right now, obviously 3 of those remain. Cody Coughlin's not there anymore, is Johnny Sauter. And when you look at the last couple of seasons, Sauter has not met expectations at all, especially this season. So when you look at that and you look at somebody like Christian Eckes, who is still available, who comes from Toyota and all this kind of stuff, it would make a lot of sense if they drop Sauter and bring in Eckes.
Yeah, if they want to maybe even add a 5th truck or something as well, that's always a possibility.
That too.
I think Eckes is definitely in line for a seat. I'm a big fan of Eckes. I think he's got a lot of potential behind him. Just didn't quite get that breakthrough win this past season for KBM, and I think that's what's ultimately led him outside of that organization. But I'm a bit surprised by the move. It just seems like such a late announcement, and the way that they've done it as well is a bit weird as well, because just it's a month of the season. You think they would announce the manufacturer that they're going to, their driver lineup and stuff, to kind of get things finalized over there. Exactly. But obviously they're leaving some people guessing, and maybe they've got some big announcement planned on the horizon. They can't leave it too late here. I'm sure they would like to get their haulers all wrapped and everything for their driver lineup. And I'm sure that they know internally what they want to do. They just haven't announced it yet. But we'll make sure to keep you updated on that. But it is an interesting storyline, leaving it even later than Ryan Sieg, as Kyle mentioned there. Like, we thought Ryan Sieg was the back end of things here, and they've gone another week here as ThorSport with announcing manufacturers. So it should provide an interesting dynamic. It's something that they're familiar with, at least the truck series kind of setups and rules package hasn't really changed too much since 2017. So they could go back to some old notes, I guess, for the Toyota body, if that does actually happen, that they are going to be Toyota, but it is basically going to be Toyota. I don't see them going over to Chevrolet. So it will be an interesting dynamic over there. Does Toyota development drivers now see ThorSport as a secondary opportunity now for the future as well, with only KBM basically being the Toyota prospect pipeline? Does ThorSport maybe go in that direction now that they have an aging core with Matt Crafton, Grant Enfinger, Johnny Sauter? Do they decide that they want to part ways with multiple guys in the near future, as soon as maybe even this season, to bring in some young Toyota prospects? Christian Eckes is the one that stands out the most, but we'll see in the years to come. if they want to go with a Toyota prospect driver in over there at ThorSport. So an interesting storyline to kick off today's episode. Any final thoughts there on the ThorSport announcement?
Yeah, just finally here, that leaves 3 full-time Ford trucks in the series, which on the surface seems extremely low and would maybe raise some eyebrows. But when you look what they've done at the Xfinity Series level, they've kept it nice and small, but made them extremely, extremely competitive trucks. And obviously you would like to keep a team like ThorSport, but the situation at hand now is David Gilliland Racing with Haley Deegan and Tanner Gray. You've got 2 trucks there, and then you've got 1 truck still with Front Row Motorsports and Todd Gilliland. So you can put all your resources into those 3 trucks with prospects that are Ford prospects as well, and see what you can get competitive-wise from those trucks. I mean, it's not ideal losing a team like ThorSport. You would like to keep them, but it kind of does line up with what Ford has done at the next level in Xfinity at the very least.
It seems like they're going with the approach of less is more right now for Ford, which is an interesting tactic because we haven't seen that necessarily before in the past. And, you know, it's been the big teams and how many drivers can you fit in one organization, and that's the best team. But Ford seems like they want to go with a different route, and teams are maybe looking at Ford and saying, well, we want to go with the bigger teams. We want to go with the manufacturer that's investing a little bit more around the clock instead of on these specific individual teams. So a very interesting one in the truck series, because this is no small team. This is a major powerhouse down in the truck series with ThorSport.
Yeah.
It rivals the likes of GMS and KBM on numerous occasions. And also you've got the other smaller teams at 1 or 2 trucks. But
they won the
still
championship
competitive
2
as well.
years ago.
With Matt Crafton, right? How can we forget that? How he won the championship there, our iconic Matt Crafton in last predictions way back when at the Spirit Live studio. So yeah, I'm very intrigued to see how ThorSport handles this maneuver and this shift over to Toyota this upcoming season, not only with their actual body style and with the actual setups and everything like that and performance, but also who they decide to stick behind the wheel of their trucks for 2021.